Amazing.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the International Startup Slam final. What is it? So as you know, we had 3 international events last year. We were in London, in Singapore and in Los Angeles. And in each location we had a small startup slam. And all the winners are here today for the final. The final is not the final, because the grand final will be tomorrow. So today now we're gonna look for the winner of the international one. There's a national final as well, and both will meet tomorrow in the final. But now it's about Old International and about you, Christopher. How are you? You
good.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So fun. We did the startup slams in all the international outlets together. So it's good to have you here in Berlin.
Dynamic duo.
Yes, absolutely. But before we start, tell us a little bit, or tell the audience who you are, what you're doing, what is Mega Deals, and why for you startups are so inspiring and important.
Right. Yeah, so I'm an 11-time founder. I founded 3 sustainability companies. I've sold 3 companies. I've failed 2. And the reason why I'm so motivated to be part of the Startup Slam is that there's one thing, well, actually 2 things that large corporations are not good at. So the first one is that the C-level and the VPs are normally sitting in short cycles. It's the same problem as politicians. So they are in the quarterly economy trap, which is making them struggle with long-term innovation. The second one is how they try to innovate. They use the same process. This is, of course, someone will say, not in our company, but in a majority of the larger companies, they use the same methods for developing products as they do for the mature part. And they typically put third-level people on the innovation. The top people want to sit on the big P&Ls, the big staff and all of that, whereas startups can bring in a team, are not stuck in that bureaucracy. That's why big companies always acquire a bunch of startups and scale-ups.
And we have 3 amazing startups here today. Before we're gonna announce them on stage, how does it work? So 3 startups, each of them has 3 minutes to showcase what they're doing, what their startups is about. Then we have 2 minutes of Q&A, and then it's your time, guys, to think about questions. We're gonna have a microphone going around, 2 minutes of questions, so you need to, ask the most interesting one, maybe some, fun facts as well. And after that, after all the 3 startups are done, we have an online voting or a live voting. Afterwards, you're gonna see a Q&R code, you're gonna scan it, and then you can vote for your favorite. So you have to rank all of them, 1 to 3, and then right after, we're gonna announce the winner.
Yes.
Yes, but before that, let's get going. Let's get going with the first startup, with our winner from London. So please, Christopher, announce.
So welcome up on stage, Elisa Brunato, the London winner from Radiant Matter. And it's her and her little friend.
All right, Elisa. The time, 3 minutes for you, from London. I'm very strict.
I know.
So please go ahead.
Brilliant color is everywhere, but it's destroying our planet. For anyone that's been to a Taylor Swift concert recently, will have seen the field demand for colorful sparkle. But it's not just pop culture and clothing. Brilliant color is everywhere, and it touches each and every part of our daily lives. Sorry, that one. The unsolved problem is that these types of colorful materials aren't made sustainably in industry for a variety of reasons, as seen on the screen behind me. There's also a lot of government legislation that's changing because the government is becoming more aware of the scale of the problem. 1.7 million sequin garments are sent to landfills annually in the UK alone. Glitter is the 3rd most common particle type that's found in wastewater treatment plants. And the cosmetic industry uses 5,500 tons of microplastics annually. Now, in order to find a solution, at Radiant Matter, nature is our inspiration. And what you see on the screen behind me is examples of structural color in nature. So structural color is where the nanoarchitecture of the material aligns in a way that refracts light to create this brilliant metallic shine. And this underpins the fundamental innovations at Radiant Matter. We make structurally colored materials from cellulose. So the cellulose is from plants. It also can come from a waste stream. It's biodegradable. It contains 0 metals, minerals, dyes, or pigments, whilst achieving this incredible coloration. It's also color fast, lightweight, and biodegradable, and has very tunable properties. The industries that are in need of this type of technology is industries like luxury goods, packaging and print, textiles and fashion, cosmetics, and we also see even outreach from the automotive industry. So it represents a £70 billion color effects market that we are ready to disrupt. And we have an optimal team that's ready to do this, bringing together expertise in science and industry. And this is why we were backed by leading climate tech and deep tech investors and recently closed a £1.2 million investment round. We demonstrated our material as a biosequin, which is replacing plastic sequins in the textiles and fashion industry. And our garment was actually featured on the LVMH landing page, which is the first time this has happened in biomaterial history. So at Radiant Matter, we are revolutionizing color effects across multiple markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, very inspiring, although I've seen it already, but it's very, very amazing. Idea you had and which you brought to life, and also in time, which I'm very happy with. So, guys, now, you have 2 minutes to ask some question. We have a microphone going around. Please raise your hand. Who has a question for Elisa?
The first time I heard this, I wasn't aware that the amount of glitter, but when I dive, you can see it even in the ocean, unfortunately.
It's everywhere. Even in our
everywhere.
wall paint, everything has this sort of colorful, sparkling element.
All right, first question.
Super amazing pitch and product. I'm curious to understand the business a bit more. How will your product be able to compete against the cheaper plastics? Are there regulations that are going to make you more price competitive? Or is your product, for example, already cheaper?
At the moment, we're at lab scale, so it's definitely not cheaper right now, but we see a cost reduction over time as we reach scale. Also depends on the type of market, but usually these materials are a small portion of the product, but has a high impact due to its coloration. So it's usually can be kind of the slightly higher price can be taken into account by the customer because it's such a low portion of the product.
Another question. We have time for one more. If it's a quick one, 2 more. There's one here.
Yeah, so thank you from my side. Really interesting. My question would be regarding the kind of long-lasting effect, because like washing a material several times, and especially with like chemical applications, like how many washes can your material survive in a normal German washing machine?
Yeah. We've been doing washing trials internally and we've been getting really good results. But again, it depends on how we tailor it to each type of application. So at the moment we're working in the textile space, so we're trying to make it more durable, and that's proving out to be really well, but we haven't got industry data on that yet. But our washing tests are coming out really well. But things like cosmetics, where you want it to be, able to go down the drain and biodegrade instantly, we can also tailor it to do that. So it depends on what the industry and product needs.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Super.
Thanks for your time. Big round of applause.
The next one up on stage is also a big area. It's Martin Scaife, the Singapore winner from Diaper Recycling. Welcome, Martin.
Hi everyone. I'm from DRT, Diaper Recycling Tech. We make state-of-the-art recycling machines for the hygiene sector. You know the products, adult care, baby care, fem care, pet pads. It's a massive industry, $130 billion a year industry around the globe. The industry does have, I'm afraid, quite a dark side. There's about 36 million tons of hygiene waste go to landfill every year. And 21% or up to 21% of ocean plastics in developing regions contain hygiene waste. Now, I feel somewhat related to this problem. I worked for 17 years at P&G, and I designed for diaper production systems, which are in use today around the world, making some of these products. But during my time at P&G, I really tried to sponsor recycling and embrace that and get that sent through the world. But there was always problems with the recycling process. Now, the recycling process is where we take the diaper and we convert it back into the original raw materials, back to plastic, pulp, SAP, which can then be sold and reused in other sectors versus throwing all this material away. But the key problem is the finances behind these operations. They're all loss-making, and it's very difficult to scale a business and help planet Earth with a loss-making business. So I took a big gamble. I resigned from my job in P&G many years ago in Frankfurt, sold my house, and invested everything into what we're doing now. And the aim of what we're doing is to make recycling, to make money from recycling. So we've gone through multiple machine stages from Gen 1 up to Gen 8. The typical recycling process before we started this, here's a recycling machine here. There's multiple modules on the older machines, and all of these modules are connected with fans and air systems. But when you run this machine, 95% of the energy goes in the air transportation only. So some of the R&D which we've done is to move away from the air transportation systems. We call this a vertical stacking system, where we have a low energy conveyor taking the materials to the top, and then everything's pulled down through each of the processes. This is just one of the innovations we've done, but this is the key one for energy saving. And you see, before we started the R&D, the industry was at 1185 watts per kg per hour. With our Gen 1, we got to 380, and now through on our Gen 8, we're down to 22.5. Plastic purity, we've gone from 86 down up to 99.75. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if we can achieve the purity, we get a much higher sales price, and the plastic can be used in other sectors. Pulp purity, the same. Capacity, we've gone from 400 kg an hour up to 1,000. And this means for our customers, we can sell a recycling machine to our customers, and the operation makes money now, and this machine pays back in 20 to 24 months. Whilst our internal financials, a machine costing, say, $5 million, 2.5 of that is a build cost, and the rest we make with overheads and profit. So both sides are sustainable business.
Thank you, Martin. Incredible innovation, incredible what you've achieved. Are there any questions in the room? Yes, there are 2, 3. We start in the first row and then in the second last or third last.
So where do you get the diapers from? Do they have to be split up before, or do you just take regular trash?
Yeah, there's 2 types of waste. We say there's post-production waste, which is a waste happening in the factories. It can be anything up to 12%. So the post-production machines are actually in the companies which makes the product, and then rather than send that waste to landfill, that waste is sent to the machines in their factory, and that waste comes back to the production line, so we can save materials coming in. For post-consumer, it's a bit different, and it does depend on the location where these machines are. There are certain towns and countries in the world where it's not viable today to recover, but other countries in the world are. Singapore is a good example, Copenhagen is a good example, and in these countries it is viable to recover about up to 85% of the waste, just by putting dedicated collection bins in old people's homes, hospitals, daycare centres. There's been some fantastic work done over the last few years.
But the first 12% must be a good start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other question from Martin? No, not so far. You have another one?
No.
No? Perfect.
Well, yeah, I have one. So, if I understood it correctly, you're selling the ready-made machinery.
Yes.
And you charge for that, and then you sell spare parts and stuff.
Yes.
You wrote operator model. Are you taking the operator role and you run it, and then they pay on an ongoing basis, or are you selling the equipment?
We essentially sell the machine. We have the IP and a know-how how to run the process at low energy.
But they run it.
They would typically run the machine.
Yeah.
We can do an offshore machine operation, so we have cameras inside the machine. We wouldn't physically be on site, but we can operate the machine offshore. That's one service which we do offer.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
All right, perfect.
Great.
Then thanks, Martin. Big round of applause for you. Thank you.
And now the LA winner, Lara Obst from Climate Choice. Welcome up on stage.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
You ready? We're ready.
Perfect. Hey, my name is Lara, and my biggest mission is to make every single buying decision a smart climate choice. Here's why. The climate transformation is the biggest challenge of the 21st century, and thousands of companies worldwide have already pledged climate targets. But actually, it's not enough to report on emissions, you also have to reduce them. And that's easier said than done, because did you know that actually 80% of emissions come typically from the supply chain? And most often, they are totally overlooked and still a blind spot for companies. The reason for that is simple, because think of it like in your private life, where you take many buying decisions about the food you eat, transportation system you choose, or the clothes you're wearing. And the same is true for a company on a massive scale. So every single time a company selects a supplier and buys a product or service, they're actually buying in indirect emissions. And this way, the so-called upstream Scope 3 emissions are typically 26 times bigger than a company's own emission. And this is a huge challenge for sustainability and procurement teams if they really want to reduce emissions. Because to do so, they need to activate hundreds and thousands of suppliers to not only manage the emissions and learn what they are, but also understand the climate targets and align on actions to really drive decarbonization. And on the other hand, the suppliers are just not yet there. They miss the training and skills and tools to really manage their climate performance, let alone to report audit-ready data. So simply sending an Excel file doesn't do the job because the data comes back incomplete or not at all, as suppliers are massively overwhelmed. So this is what we tackle with Climate Choice using our AI-driven climate intelligence platform. We leverage AI to gather thousands of documents, use the information to create granular climate risk profiles for each of the suppliers, share the information with the suppliers who can own their profile and learn how they can improve, and level up information to really bring in transparency in the supply chain. So today, we are very excited to work with some of the leading and global companies in the field who take supply chain decarbonization serious. And if you are ready to take smart climate choices, then I invite you to drive supply chain decarbonization together with us. Thank you.
I must say, all three of you nailed the timing.
Absolutely. They learned from the international
Like
event.
5, 6, 5, 4, done.
Very well done. Thank you, Lara. Now the question, guys. Who has some interesting question? Is that question in the middle, or was it just a wave, a groupie?
I think
A groupie.
it's a good groupie.
There's one question over there.
So what type of data points do you consider when building these models?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So on average, we collect up to 100 data points per supplier, and we split that in 5 different dimensions because most companies actually focus on the emission data, which is for sure the first thing you want to learn. But then we also look into the governance, the strategies, the reduction efforts, and then also specific targets the companies have taken. So we split it up, but we mainly focus on climate. So we bring in all the relevant context data to understand where the emissions are today, how they increased or decreased over time, and therefore give a projection if the company is likely to decrease emissions or not. We focus on public data first. So for the AI screening, we really build up a funnel of everything that's already there. So you have seen some of the big names, the companies they work with, they are also big companies. So they get 100 times the same email, could you not just drop us your sustainability report? So we go to the website, use the sustainability reports, maybe CO2 accounting specifically, but then we also drill down. So we go in specific databases from science-based targets, CDP, product carbon footprints, and so on.
All right, there was one more question here, a quick one.
Yeah, hi. The problem with Scope 3 data is that the emissions are happening out of control of the companies. How to make those data actionable? You know,
Make them actionable?
Actionable, yeah.
Yes, I love that question because that's really where we want to come towards. So first of all, the reality is everyone is still at the level of reporting, and that's totally fine. We need to be there, and then we first need the transparency to bring the data together. But how we really make it transferable is by using the supplier risk profiles. So that's actually a mechanism that's known already in procurement. So every single supplier has a scorecard that the procurement teams also already work with. And in the last years, beside quality, price, availability, the fourth dimension, sustainability, came in. And now we most often feed this score with our own information, and then we sometimes make up the whole scoring in the sustainability area, maybe sometimes 50% or so. So we really work with the corporates to integrate the data then into their procurement systems, and there where it's used for supplier selection, development, and so on.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Lara. Thank you very
Lara.
much. All right, now it's time to vote. You're going to see on the screen behind us, there should come up a QR code now. Perfect, there it is. Please scan that QR code with your phones. If not, go directly on slido.com, use hashtag 3969574. And please vote for all three of them. So you have to rank them 1, 2, and 3. Which was your favorite, which was your second favorite, and the third favorite. Do you have a favorite?
Sorry?
You have a favorite? You cannot.
I don't want to say.
You want to say?
I do.
I mean, all of
But
them.
I must say they're all addressing 3 mega problems. Sorry, what?
There's no active poll. All right. I guess we have some technical issues. I see that someone is running in the back. Maybe let's wait 2 more minutes.
We've engaged the Eurovision team.
Yes, I've seen the team is running. If not, now it's working. See, live voting. In the meantime, please welcome our 3 startups back on stage, if they're ready. Because we have the live voting, which is ongoing. So all is working. Thank you, Dale. Thanks for running up. Yeah, please welcome back on stage Elissa, Martin, and Lara. As we're going to have a live voting, we're going to immediately see who is going to win. So guys, you still have 1 minute more to vote, right? So choose your 3 startups. Who will then attend the grand final tomorrow against the local competition. I see people are still participating, so please rank and see what's happening. I mean, all of you are winners. You won the international events anyway already, and thank you for coming here. I know it's, especially from Singapore, not too far away, not too close. I know Lara is quite close, so that's good. All right, last 10 seconds, guys. And I think we already can somehow see a winner of the International Startup Slam.
Yeah.
I would say give a big round of applause to all 3 of them.
Yeah.
The winner for today,
Elissa,
is
Radiant Matter. Yeah.
Alyssa. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
We're gonna see you tomorrow in the grand final against the local. Martin and Lara, thank you very much for being here with us today. And yeah, again, a big applause for 3 of them.
And then